You ever walk into a room and feel like you just missed the punchline to a joke, except the joke's on you, and everyone knows it? That was me, standing in our church's community hall, holding a tray of mini quiches, wondering why half the room suddenly went quiet the second I stepped in. Everyone looked my way like I just walked in with a grenade and a bless-your-heart smile. It was our 10-year wedding anniversary. Not the celebration. I'm not that naive, the date. I remembered. Ashley did not. Or if she did, she made a real show of forgetting. The church was hosting its annual spring fundraiser, and she had volunteered us both, without asking me, of course. It'll be fun, she'd said. It's good for us to do things together. That was code. For her, together meant I set up chairs while she fluttered around in that flowy peach dress that made older deacons whisper and teenagers pretend not to stare. And I played along. Like a trained dog at a garden party, tail wagging, smile painted on. Because that's what you do when you believe in the idea of something, even when the thing itself starts to rot at the roots. So there I was, holding quiches, dodging whispers. Pastor Graham gave me that look. You know, the one people give when they know something you don't, but they're too polite to say it. Like they've already written your eulogy but still offer you a seat at the table. I found Ashley near the refreshments table, talking to a guy I didn't recognize. Tall, tanned, hair a little too good for church. You know the type. He had one hand on the table and the other on his hip like he owned the joint. She turned to me with that smile. That company's watching smile. Logan, she said, voice sweet enough to rot teeth. This is Chase. From work. From work. My favorite euphemism. Right behind, it's not what you think, and you're being paranoid. Chase turned, extended a hand. Firm grip. Flashy watch. Too much cologne. Nice to meet the famous husband, he said with a smirk that made me want to see how far I could toss a tray of mini quiches without missing. I shook his hand, nodded, and smiled. The way you do when you're the last guy in a mystery novel to figure out who the killer is, and it's been your wife's coworker all along. Ashley laughed too hard at something he whispered, then leaned into him a little too close. The whole room might not have noticed, but I did. I didn't say a word. Not then. I just stood there like a man looking at a house he built, watching the first flames crawl up the curtains. The worst part? I still hoped I was wrong. The thing about suspicion is it doesn't hit you like a truck. No, it seeps in slow. Like a hairline fracture in glass. Barely visible, but give it time and pressure, and suddenly the whole window shatters. After the church event, I drove us home in silence. Ashley scrolled on her phone, legs crossed, humming like she didn't just spend the afternoon flirting like it was a job interview and Chase was hiring for a husband replacement. I glanced over a couple times, no guilt. No glance back. Just her screen lighting up with messages I didn't ask about and she didn't offer to explain. So, I said, finally. Chase seems friendly. She didn't even look up. He's harmless. Didn't say he was dangerous. Then why are you bringing him up? She asked, tapping away. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Because he looked at you like I wasn't there. She scoffed. You're overthinking things. Yeah, that's what everyone says to a guy right before his entire marriage face plants on the concrete. Back home, she disappeared into the bathroom for what she called a long shower. She'd been taking a lot of those lately. Hot water and secrets, that was her new self-care routine. I stood outside the door for a second, listening to the white noise of the shower, staring at the laundry basket. It was full, except her panties weren't there. Again, I didn't touch anything. Not yet. I just filed it away. A little fact to sit beside all the others. The late nights. The phone that never left her side. The way she stopped laughing at my jokes, then started laughing a little too hard at his. Dinner was leftovers in silence. I ate. She picked. When we sat down to watch something, our usual Friday night ritual, she barely lasted 20 minutes before pretending to be tired and heading upstairs. Said she had an early start tomorrow. It was 8:43 p.m. I sat there, watching the screen, pretending I wasn't listening for the faint click of her texting someone behind the bedroom door. Pretending I didn't notice she took her phone charger with her, but not the book she'd been reading all week. My phone buzzed. A message from Kevin, my best friend since college. Kevin, you still think nothing's going on? He'd been asking that for a while. Ever since he saw her and Chase at a cafe downtown. Looked real cozy, he said. Didn't see a second chair for you. I defended her then. I said Chase was probably just giving her advice, work stuff. Strategy meetings, deadlines, proposals. What a joke. I was the only proposal she'd accepted in the last decade, and even that was collecting dust. That night, lying in bed, her back to me like it had been every night for the last few months. I stared at the ceiling and asked myself a question that wouldn't go away. If this wasn't cheating yet, why did it feel like grieving? Sunday morning. The kind of morning that pretends to be peaceful. Birds chirping, coffee brewing, sun slicing through the blinds like it's trying to warm the bones of a man who already knows he's being buried alive in his own house. Ashley was in the kitchen when I came down, dressed like she had somewhere to be, heels, lipstick, that red blouse I hadn't seen since our 3rd anniversary dinner. The one she said didn't fit anymore. She poured herself coffee. I poured mine. No words. Then she cleared her throat like a boss about to fire someone. "Hey," she said, voice light. "I've got a work brunch with some new clients. Won't be long." A lie so casual it wore no seatbelt. "On a Sunday?" I asked, not accusing, just curious. The way a detective might ask where you were last night. "MHM." She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and left the taste of guilt on my skin. I didn't follow her. Not immediately. I just sat on the couch, sipping coffee that suddenly tasted like betrayal, wondering what kind of man lets his marriage crumble and thanks the wreckage for its time. But then my phone lit up. A text from Kevin again. "Kevin, she just walked into Rivier Cafe. Not alone." I stared at the screen. That cafe wasn't anywhere near her work. And just like that, the last string of doubt snapped. I got in the car. No rage. No shaking hands. Just that weird kind of calm you feel right before a storm breaks and finally makes the silence stop. I parked across the street, behind a silver Camry. Her Camry. The one I made payments on while she worked late. Through the cafe window, I saw them. Ashley and Chase. Sitting way too close in a booth meant for couples, not colleagues. His hand rested casually on her knee like it belonged there. She laughed, head tilted, hand on his arm, the laugh that used to be mine. I didn't storm in. Didn't throw coffee mugs or shout her name like a soap opera. No, I did something worse. I watched. I watched as the woman I gave my name to leaned into another man like she'd been doing it for months. Like it wasn't wrong, like I was the one out of place. My phone buzzed again. "Kevin, you gonna say anything?" "Not yet." I drove home. Slowly. Windows down, letting the wind carry the ashes of what used to be. When she walked through the door 2 hours later, I was at the kitchen table. Calm. Composed. Playing chess with a ghost. She stepped in like nothing happened. Set her purse down. Slipped off her heels. Gave me the same smile she gave him. "Brunch went long," she said. "Sorry." I looked up. "Did you have the quiche?" She froze. Subtle. Barely there. But I caught it. The glitch in her system. "What?" she said, eyes narrowing. "Rivier Cafe. They do a decent quiche. I figured that's what you were having, with Chase." Silence. A pause long enough to rewrite the vows we'd broken. Then she blinked, set her jaw, and said something that didn't just confirm everything, it lit it on fire. "You followed me?" "No," I said, standing. "I just stopped pretending." She opened her mouth, maybe to lie, maybe to spin, but the damage was done. That was the moment the affair stopped being a suspicion and became a confession written in posture and silence. And I'll be honest, I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Because now, I could finally stop hoping. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just cut you. It drafts a new version of you. The day Ashley confirmed the affair, without saying it, without denying it, I felt something shift. Not break. Not yet. Just shift. Like a foundation settling before demolition. That night, I didn't argue. Didn't yell. I made spaghetti, poured her a glass of wine, and asked if she wanted to watch something. She looked at me like I'd offered her a snake on a silver tray. "What is this?" she asked, eyes narrowed. "Tuesday," I said. "What else would it be?" She didn't respond. Just nodded slowly and sat across from me at the table, suspicious, as if kindness now was a threat. She didn't touch the wine. I ate half my plate, pushed it aside, and stood. "I've got some work to catch up on," I said, walking past her. I paused just long enough to see the flicker in her eyes, discomfort, maybe, or fear. It's funny how unsettling a calm man can be when guilt's bouncing off the inside of your skull. I didn't go to my office. I went to the garage. Now, some men drink. Some disappear. Some beg, some rage, some fold into themselves like grief is origami. Me? I build. And at that moment, I needed something to build besides a list of things I should have seen sooner. So I opened the old metal cabinet, pulled out the dusty toolbox, and began sorting. Not screws or hammers information. That morning, I had called out sick from work. The very first time in years. My boss didn't even question it. He just told me to take care of myself and call if I needed anything. Solid guy. I didn't need sympathy. I needed receipts. By noon, I had everything laid out across the garage table like a crime board. Because, honestly, it was. 3 bank statements. 2 call logs. 1 printed calendar invite from Ashley's shared work account that had her conveniently out of town the same weekend. Chase posted a beach selfie with a blurred woman in the background. Same sunglasses Ashley left in our car the week prior. Coincidence? Sure, if you're stupid. But I wasn't stupid anymore. That part of me got left behind at Rivier Cafe. I checked our joint credit card again. Nothing screamed affair. That's how you know it's premeditated. They keep it clean. So I switched gears. I called my buddy Nate, runs a private IT firm. Smart guy. Owes me for helping him move into his 3rd-floor apartment in 90-degree heat last summer. He picked up on the second ring. Logan, he said, surprised. Everything good? Nope, I said. I need a favor. Actually, 2. All right. First, I need access to any backups Ashley's made to the cloud in the last 90 days. He whistled. Damn. That kind of day, huh? I didn't say anything. What's the second favor? He asked. I leaned back in my chair, staring at our wedding photos still hanging on the garage wall. Her in white, me in navy blue, both of us young enough to believe forever came without terms and conditions. I need to know how to track deleted messages. He didn't ask why. Give me an hour. By nightfall, I had more than enough. Messages between Ashley and Chase, hidden in a folder named Meeting Notes. Clever. Except they weren't discussing projections or marketing strategy. Unless, I need you again soon, is how people close Q3. Photos, too. Taken in hotel mirrors, in front of restaurant bathrooms, in places I'd never been but somehow paid for. I stared at them for a while. Not because I needed more evidence, but because I was done pretending to be the man who ignored red flags just because they came wrapped in soft kisses and morning coffee. I sat at the kitchen table as Ashley came in from her late meeting. Her makeup was perfect. Her heels clicked against the tile like gunfire. She stopped when she saw me. You're up late. Couldn't sleep. She walked over, kissed my forehead, and started for the stairs. Hey, I said, still looking at my laptop. You ever think about what would happen if the truth came out? Her feet paused mid-step. What do you mean? I looked up, met her eyes, and gave her the calmest smile I'd ever worn. Just curious. She blinked once, then continued upstairs, tension trailing behind her like a bad perfume. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made plans. Not for revenge, not yet, but for leverage. You see, people think revenge is about rage. It's not. It's about control. And control doesn't come from yelling. It comes from knowing the moves 3 turns ahead. Ashley didn't know I knew. And that gave me time. Time to move assets out of our joint account. Time to draft emails to her boss, Chase's boss, their HR department. Time to set up meetings with a divorce attorney and a realtor. Quietly. Professionally. I wasn't going to burn her life down in a fit of passion. No. I was going to redecorate it so thoroughly she'd think she walked into the wrong reality. By the time I was finished, she'd look around and see nothing familiar. No ring. No house. No savings. No job. And the best part? She wouldn't even hear the match strike. I used to think the worst feeling in the world was betrayal. Turns out, it's restraint. Knowing the truth, holding the sword, and choosing not to swing it. Yet, Ashley still thought she was playing chess with a blindfolded opponent. What she didn't realize, I had flipped the board 2 nights ago and started writing my own rules. That morning, she was humming in the kitchen again. Like she hadn't spent the last few months starring in a low-budget romance film where the husband plays furniture. She even made pancakes 3 kinds. Banana, chocolate chip, blueberry. Something special? I asked, sipping coffee. She smiled, that sweet rehearsed one. Just felt like treating us today. Us. The word used to feel warm. Now it felt like an expired coupon. After breakfast, she left for yoga, which I'd later confirm was actually brunch with Chase again. I didn't follow this time. I didn't need to. I already knew her patterns. What she ordered. Where she sat. How she laughed too long and reached for his hand like a reflex. While she sipped mimosas and pretended she lived in a world without consequences, I was at a lawyer's office. Neutral building. Beige walls. The kind of place where polite destruction happens on paper. Linda, the attorney, didn't blink when I slid the folder across the desk. Affair? She asked, skimming. Documented, I said. Photos. Messages. locations, timeline. I've also got witness statements if you want flair. She smiled, barely. You did your homework. No, I said. She made it easy. We discussed assets. The house, the savings, the accounts I'd already begun to segment. Linda told me what to expect, what to do next. No emotion. Just clean, cold facts. Exactly what I needed. As I left her office, my phone buzzed. Ashley, going to swing by Target. Need anything? Yeah, I thought. Just your dignity in a paper bag, please. Back home, I went to the attic. The one place Ashley never touched. Too dusty, she always said. Too many spiders. Up there, I kept a few old things. Photo albums, college journals, the box from our wedding. I pulled out the album we'd made the summer after our honeymoon, back when love was still loud and neither of us had passwords on our phones. I flipped through it slowly. I wasn't nostalgic. I was measuring distance. From what we were to what we'd become. From smiles that reached the eyes to glances that dodged contact. I stopped at a photo of us on the beach. She was mid-laugh, sunglasses in her hair. I looked young, clueless, happy. I closed the book and packed it in a cardboard box labeled storage. Translation: never again. That evening, I waited for her to come home. She was glowing. The kind of glow you don't get from yoga or Target. The kind you get from attention that isn't earned. It's stolen. We sat in the living room. She kicked her shoes off, stretched her legs across the couch, and scrolled through her phone. I didn't speak. Just watched. After a while, she glanced up. You're quiet. Just tired, I said. She nodded and went back to scrolling. That was her favorite part of the affair, I think. The thrill of deception. The false sense of control. But what she didn't know was that her control was like wet sand, slipping, grain by grain, while she posed on castles that were already collapsing. The next day, I sent the first batch of emails. To her boss. To Chase's boss. To HR. No drama. No insults. Just cold, professional language with evidence attached in a secure drive. I didn't care if they fired her. I cared that she'd have to look them in the eye. That she'd have to sit in a meeting room with fluorescent lights buzzing and try to explain why the company's internal policy on professional conduct now had her name stapled to the top. That evening, I cooked dinner. Her favorite, grilled salmon with lemon butter and asparagus. I opened a bottle of wine, set the table, lit candles. She walked in, froze for a second, then gave me a look that tried to be romantic but landed somewhere between confused and suspicious. Well, she said, what's the occasion? I handed her a glass of wine. To the truth, I said, clinking gently. She laughed. That's vague. We ate in near silence. Halfway through, she set her fork down. Okay. What's going on? You've been different. I nodded. Set my napkin down. You're right, I said. I've been quiet, but not blind. Her face changed. Just slightly. A flicker of panic behind her eyes, masked quickly. I don't. What are you talking about? I leaned forward. I know, Ashley. About Chase. About the brunches. About the hotel downtown. The one with the purple hallway wallpaper and no security cameras in the back entrance. She swallowed hard. You followed me? No, I said. I prepared for you. There's a difference. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I'm not yelling, I said. Not throwing things. I won't even ask you why. I know why. You like the feeling. The attention. The escape. She looked away. I didn't mean for it to last, I said. Or to get caught? She didn't answer. I stood, walked around the table, and handed her an envelope. What's this? The beginning. Inside were copies of the divorce papers. A letter explaining my asset division offer. A list of personal items to separate. You don't get to play innocent, I said. But I'm not going to play victim either. This isn't revenge, Ashley. This is reality. She stared at the papers. Pale. Quiet. When? She asked softly. Now, I said. You'll stay at Chase's tonight. I've already packed a bag. It's by the door. Her lips trembled. You're kicking me out? No, I said. You already left. I'm just making it official. As she stood by the door, suitcase in hand, mascara smudged, she whispered something I didn't expect. I didn't think you'd let go so easily. I smiled. Oh, Ashley. I didn't let go. I leaned in, close enough to make sure she heard every word. I just stopped holding on to someone who already jumped. There's a strange sort of peace that comes the day after the storm. Not calm, exactly. Not relief. Just stillness. Like the moment after a car crash, When the airbags have deployed and you're sitting there, blinking through dust and silence, trying to figure out how long you've been alive. That was me, the morning after Ashley left with her suitcase and a 1,000-yard stare. I made coffee, checked my email, fed the dog. The normalcy almost felt insulting. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number? Is this Logan? I think we need to talk. This is Claire, Chase's wife. Wife, not girlfriend. Wife. I stared at the screen so long my coffee went cold. 10 minutes later, I was parked in front of a tidy little house with white shutters and a trimmed lawn, the kind of place where secrets hide under garden gnomes and monogrammed doormats. Claire answered the door in leggings and an oversized college sweatshirt. No makeup, no performance, just pure, exhausted humanity. Thanks for coming, she said. I wasn't sure if you'd show. I didn't know I needed to until 5 minutes ago, I replied. We sat at her kitchen table. She poured tea like it was an offering of peace. Neither of us touched it. I saw the HR email, she said. Chase got called in this morning. Tried to lie his way out of it. Said it was a setup. A joke. Accused me of hacking his phone. I smirked. Classic Chase. She nodded. So I did a little digging of my own. Found the burner phone. The hotel receipts. The text he was dumb enough to back up to his cloud account. She looked up at me, eyes dark and steady. He's not just cheating with your wife, Logan. He's been cheating with 4 others, including one intern. HR's about to have a field day. I let out a low whistle. Ambitious guy. Oh, he's ambitious, all right, she said. Especially when it comes to ruining his own life. We exchanged stories, breadcrumbs of betrayal. Turns out Ashley and Chase had been sneaking around longer than I thought. Business trips. Team-building weekends. Once, he even sent Claire a bouquet of roses from a hotel in Seattle, while Ashley was there too, registered under her maiden name. You planning to stay with him? I asked. Claire gave me a look like I just offered her a plate of worms. Please. I've already frozen the accounts and changed the locks. Told him he can pick up his junk from the lawn on Saturday. Good, I said. Because I think it's time we stop being casualties and start being architects. She raised an eyebrow. Architects? Yeah, I said. Of their downfall. By the next afternoon, news of the affair had leaked beyond the HR office. Gossip flies fast in corporate corridors. Ashley didn't show up to work. According to Kevin, who knew someone in her department, she'd been put on indefinite leave while things were investigated. Meanwhile, Chase was placed under formal review, with 2 separate complaints filed by other women who'd apparently had mentorship dinners with him over the last year. Claire, true to her word, had sent everything she found straight to legal. I didn't gloat. Well, okay, maybe just a little. Quietly. To myself. While eating a sandwich. That evening, Ashley called. Didn't text. Didn't email. Called. I watched the screen ring for a while, then answered with the kind of calm that only shows up when you've already written the ending. Logan, she breathed. Ashley, I said flatly. You've made your point. I stayed silent. You didn't have to go to my job. That was low. I let out a slow breath. No, Ashley. What was low was cheating with a married coworker in hotels I paid for. What I did. That was consequences. You just don't like how they dress. She paused. I didn't mean for this to spiral. Funny, I said. Neither did I when I married you. Another long silence. Then, softer. I don't have anywhere to go. You have Chase, I said. He's not talking to me. I smiled without humor. Guess you found out you were never the only one. Her breath caught. Oh. Yeah. Oh. She started to cry. Not loudly. Just the kind of quiet tears that leak when the panic sets in, and you realize the ground you were dancing on was actually a trapdoor. I thought you loved me, she whispered. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I did. More than you deserved. She didn't respond. Just sat there in the silence, as if hoping I'd toss her a rope. I didn't. You wanted to feel something again, Ashley, I said. Well, here it is. Cold. Real. And all yours. Then I hung up. That weekend, I finally packed up the rest of her things. Boxed them neatly. No rage. No slashed clothes. No angry letters. Just everything she no longer owned the right to leave behind. I stacked the boxes by the door, left her a voicemail with the pickup time, and changed the locks after. No dramatic confrontation. No final screams. Just the clean end of something that never deserved to keep going. Sunday night, I sat on the porch with a beer in one hand and my dog at my feet. Kevin pulled up in his truck, nodded, and sat beside me. You good? He asked. Better than good, I said. I'm clean. For the first time in years, I'm clean. He raised his bottle. To being the storm, not the victim. I clinked it. To building new things on cleared ground. 3 weeks after the final call with Ashley, I realized the house sounded different. Not quieter. Not emptier. Just different. Like it had finally stopped bracing for a voice that didn't belong here anymore. No footsteps upstairs. No passive-aggressive cabinet slams. No perfume hanging in the air like a guilty conscience. I stood in the doorway to my bedroom, realizing it looked bigger now. Lighter. I had swapped the sheets. Repainted the walls. Took down every photo where she smiled like she meant it. Kevin helped me haul the last reminders of her to Goodwill. Clothes. Books. Kitchen stuff she always insisted we needed but never used. He dropped one box, laughed, and said, "There goes the ice cream maker and your marriage. Same trip." I chuckled. The ice cream maker lasted longer. We high-fived, then ordered burgers like we were 20 again. It felt good. Simple. Real. I wasn't healed yet, but I was breathing deeper. Claire called. "You won't believe this," she said, already laughing. "Try me." Chase's appeal to keep his job? Denied. He's out. Terminated with costs. No severance. I smiled. And his LinkedIn? Deleted, she said. Not deactivated. Deleted. He rage quit the internet. I poured myself a drink. Heard he tried to spin the whole thing, I said. Blamed company politics. Said HR had a vendetta. Sure, Claire said. Because every vendetta includes 5 confirmed affairs and 2 sexual harassment complaints. And Ashley? I asked. She tried to contact me last week. Wanted to clear the air. I told her to call a priest. I laughed harder than I had in months. Chase moved out of their shared condo the next day. Claire sold his fancy espresso machine online and used the money to take a solo vacation to Italy. Sent me a postcard. It said, "Rebuilding's easier when you burn the blueprints." It arrived in the mailbox. No return address. Just my name and her handwriting. I stared at it for a minute, then opened it. Logan. I know you probably won't read this. I wouldn't, if I were you. But I wanted to say something, not because I expect forgiveness, but because I owe it to the person you were when I didn't deserve you. I made a choice. A selfish one. And I told myself it was temporary, harmless, something I'd fix before you noticed. But then I noticed something else. I didn't respect what I had until it was gone. You didn't scream. You didn't break things. You didn't drag my name through the mud. You just let the facts speak for themselves. And somehow, that hurt more than any shouting ever could. I've moved in with a friend. I'm looking for work. Chase has vanished. Turns out people like him aren't reliable once the lights are on. You were. Always were. I hope someday you find someone who sees that. Hey. I folded the letter once, then again. Then I dropped it into the shredder. It's funny what stays and what goes after everything collapses. The bed? New. The dishes? Replaced. The wedding photos? Gone. But the dog stayed. So did the porch. And so did I. Some people think revenge is about fire and fury. I used to think that too. But the truth? Real revenge is removal. You remove their power, their voice in your head, their fingerprints on your life. You remove the version of yourself that tolerated less than you deserved. That's the part they don't see coming. I got a new job. Smaller firm. Better people. I took a trip to Oregon. Just me and the mountains. I stood at the top of a cliff and screamed into the wind, not because I was angry, but because I was finally done being silent. I met someone, eventually. Not right away. But someone who asked questions and waited for the answers. Someone who didn't make me feel like love was something I had to audition for. Ashley? I hear she moved 2 towns over. No friends. No Chase. No career yet. But I wish her nothing. Not the worst. Not the best. Just nothing. Because when someone treats your heart like a spare key, you don't change the locks, you move. And when someone hands you betrayal with a smile, you don't give them a second chance. You give them a story they'll never be the hero of. This was mine. And I lived through it. Not broken. Not bitter. Better.